Okay, when you hear the word sales, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Maybe some pushy, fast-talking stereotype, right? Well, I want you to forget all that because the reality is modern sales has become one of the most structured, data-driven, and now scientifically optimized professions out there. We're going to break down exactly how sales went from a human art form to an AI-powered science.
At its very core, good sales has never been about tricking someone. It's about building trust. It's a skill, for sure, one based on persuasion and negotiation. But let's be real, it's also the engine of our entire economy. Without sales, nothing really moves.
And this brings us to the big, central question we're tackling today. If sales is really all about that human trust, what happens when an AI can understand the process even better than we do? I mean, how does that completely change the game? So before AI ever showed up on the scene, sales already had this really well-defined playbook. For decades, it's been a systematic process, something that's been taught and tweaked to be as effective as possible. See, sales has always had a structure, a kind of repeatable cycle of steps. It all kicks off with finding a potential customer, that's called prospecting, and it goes all the way through to nurturing the relationship long after any deal is done. It's really a journey, not just some single high-pressure moment. To make things a little simpler, we can kind of boil that whole 7-step cycle down into 3 main phases. First, you've got to find the right customer. Then, you build your case for why your product or service is the answer for them. And finally, you close the deal and, this part is super important, you nurture that relationship for the long haul. All right, let's zoom in on that very first phase, finding the right customer. Because this is where sales really started to shift from being just an art into more of a science, using these structured frameworks to qualify potential leads. So what even is lead qualification? Well, you can think of it like a filtering process. Before a salesperson sinks hours and hours of their time into a potential customer, they need to know a few things. Like, does this person actually have the problem that we solve? Do they have the budget to pay for a solution? And maybe most importantly, are they even the person who can make the decision to buy? Now, to make this process less of a guessing game, salespeople developed these frameworks, which are basically just checklists. A really classic one is BANT. It stands for budget, authority, need, and timing. But over time, these got way more sophisticated, evolving into models like MEDDIC, which adds these crucial new layers, like figuring out the customer's specific pain and finding a champion inside their company who's going to fight for the deal. Now, these human-driven frameworks, they're powerful for sure, but they've got limits. They totally depend on the salesperson's own interpretation, their gut feeling, and their ability to ask just the right question at just the right time. But what if a machine could do it better? Well, this is where a brand new player enters the game. And the difference here is just stark. On one hand, you have human intuition. It's valuable, absolutely, but it can be subjective, it can be inconsistent. On the other hand, you have AI intelligence, which is purely data-driven. It isn't guessing. It's spotting patterns across millions of data points to make a prediction. We're talking about a shift from a gut feeling to a calculated probability. Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. Researchers went out and developed this specialized AI they call Sales RL Agent. And the best way to think about it is like a chess engine, but for sales conversations. It's not just spitting out information, it's analyzing the conversation in real time, figuring out the probability of success, and then suggesting the next best move to make. So the big question is, does this chess engine for sales actually work? Well, the researchers put it to the test against other AI models, including some really powerful general-purpose ones. The large language models or LLMs like ChatGPT, and the results were just staggering. So get this. When they asked the AI to predict if a sales conversation would actually lead to a sale, the best general-purpose AI was right about 62% of the time. Not bad. But the specialized Sales RL agent, it was right 96.7% of the time. That is a massive leap in accuracy. It's not even in the same league. But look, predicting things is one thing. Getting real-world results is what really counts, right? Well, in a live test with actual sales teams, the group that used the AI's real-time guidance saw their sales conversion rates shoot up by an incredible 43.2%. And you might be wondering, how is that even possible in a live conversation? The answer is speed. Just look at this latency table. A call to a huge model like GPT-4 can take over 3 seconds to get you a response. I mean, in a conversation, that's an eternity. It's awkward. The sales RL agent, just running on a standard computer, responds in only 85 milliseconds. It's literally fast enough to give you guidance without anyone on the call ever noticing. Okay, so hearing all this, you might be thinking, is this the end of the human salesperson? Not at all. Actually, the goal here isn't replacement. It's about creating a powerful new partnership. It's about creating the augmented salesperson. The future of sales isn't about replacing people. It's about augmenting them. It's about combining the very best of human skills, things like communication, building relationships, empathy, with the incredible precision, speed, and pattern recognition of an AI. The AI becomes this co-pilot, this tool that provides guidance and insight and just elevates human performance to a whole new level. So let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line? Sales has clearly evolved from an art form to a data-driven science, and now to a predictive science powered by AI. We've also seen that for these really specific, complex jobs, a specialized AI can just blow a general one out of the water. And maybe most importantly, the goal here isn't to replace people, but to empower them, to turn good salespeople into absolutely great ones. And that leaves us with one last, pretty big question to think about. We've just seen a 43% boost in performance in a field that many people thought was fundamentally human. So if this level of augmentation is possible in sales, what profession, what other complex human skill is next on the list?